You will never meet the person who catches you. That's the part no one tells you. Not a chase, not a standoff, a name on a list, a spreadsheet that fills in one row at a time. A patience so total it doesn't even feel like being hunted until the morning it ends. Here's what that looks like at 10 different scales, from a padded timesheet to a plot stopped days before it detonates. The same machine, sized to match whatever it's asked to find. 1. The small lie. 24. You padded a few unemployment forms, stretched hours you never worked across a season, and pocketed an amount that felt enormous in the moment and laughably small in hindsight. The system's response to this is almost bureaucratic in its lack of drama. No van pulls up outside your apartment. Instead, a caseworker named Dana Alvarez opens your file as the 17th item on a Tuesday task list. She isn't hunting you. She's doing arithmetic, matching your claimed hours against what your employer actually reported, and the mismatch surfaces in about the time it takes to microwave lunch. A letter follows, weeks later, dry and procedural. Pay back the amount, add a penalty, and the matter closes itself. Nobody raised their voice. Nobody needed to. This is the first thing the machine teaches you. If you're paying attention, it doesn't need urgency to find you. It only needs time, and it always has more of that than you do. 2. The pattern you didn't mean to draw. 28 now. 1 stolen identity became 4, then a dozen, each theft easier than the last because nothing bad happened after the first. You told yourself this was victimless. A company eats the loss. A stranger gets an annoying phone call. Life continues. What you didn't account for is that 12 small thefts don't stay 12 separate stories. An investigator named Priya Nakamura, working financial crimes out of a regional office, starts noticing the same stolen mail route showing up in complaints from 3 different zip codes. She doesn't chase a person. She builds a shape, a spreadsheet, then a timeline, then a map of dates and locations that starts to look less like coincidence and more like a signature. Weeks pass. Complaints trickle in from people who didn't notice the fraud immediately, and each new one sharpens the outline a little further, like a photograph developing in slow motion. The rhythm gives him away before any single transaction does, she tells a colleague one evening. A line you won't hear until it's read back to you across a table. By the time anyone comes to your door, they already know your route to work and the names of the people whose lives you borrowed. You aren't caught so much as arrived at, the last data point in a picture that finished itself with or without your cooperation. 3. 11 minutes, 6 days. 31. 11 minutes in a bank lobby, a note instead of a shout, $40-odd thousand that feels heavier leaving than it did being counted. This is where the response changes shape entirely. A field agent named Carla Voss is at the branch before the die pack finishes smoking, interviewing the teller, the manager, 2 customers still shaking in the parking lot. She watches the security footage not for your face. The mask took care of that. But for the things a mask can't hide. Your gait. The way you shift weight waiting for a drawer to open. Within a day, marked bills surface at 2 ATMs across town. Within 3, a blurry jacket in a news photo produces a name from a tip line. Voss doesn't rush the arrest. She has a team watch you for 6 days, quietly, methodically, because a case that collapses under a defense attorney's questions was never a case at all. You go about your week, groceries, work, dinner, never noticing the same 2 cars rotating a block behind you. The 11 minutes cost us 6 days, she tells you afterward, not unkindly, once it's over. That's usually the exchange rate. 4. The map, not the driver. 35. What started as a small supply run down 2 counties has become a route crossing 4 states, built on connections you inherited rather than built. You tell yourself you're a minor character in someone else's story, just a driver, nothing that would land near the center of any chart. That comfort doesn't survive what actually happens next. A supervisory agent named Marcus Webb doesn't come looking for you specifically. He's mapping a network, phone records, shipment timing, shell accounts that look unremarkable alone and glaring once pinned side by side on a corkboard. It's slow, tedious work, subpoenas, spreadsheets, hours of warehouse surveillance footage that yields nothing until, occasionally, it yields everything. A wiretap, approved after months of paperwork, starts recording calls on a phone you believed was clean. You're not the target. You're one of 17 names it catches. We don't go after the driver first, Webb tells a junior analyst, tapping the org chart. We go after the map. The driver's just one line on it. When the raids finally come, they arrive on the same morning across 4 states, timed so no one can warn anyone else. A year of quiet mapping compressed into a single coordinated hour. 5. The clock that doesn't negotiate. 39. A ransom note. A missing person. And suddenly the pace of everything changes, because kidnapping cases run on a clock nothing before them obeyed. A crisis negotiator named Tobias Reyes is on scene within hours, cell records subpoenaed inside the first, financial accounts flagged for real-time monitoring inside the second. A command post runs around the clock, because in this kind of case the gap between a good outcome and a tragedy is measured in hours, not days. Reyes spends part of that first night with the victim's family, not for comfort's sake alone, but because trust, built fast under terrible circumstances, becomes operationally necessary later. The drop location you thought was clever, public, camera-heavy, in your favor, works against you instead. Technicians pull footage from 11 angles before you've made it back to your car. A plate number matches a rental agreement in 20 minutes. You're in custody within 36 hours. The victim recovered unharmed. Time is the one thing we can't negotiate for, Reyes says afterward, in a debrief you never hear directly. Everything else, we build as we go. 6. Removing every piece at once. 43. Deep enough inside an organization that your name appears on charts long before anyone knocks on your door, but never the one running it. The investigation aimed at your organization was never really about you. A supervisory agent named Diane Osei has spent 3 years building a case designed to dismantle the entire structure at once. Leadership, enforcement, money. Take one man out, she knows, and the organization simply promotes his replacement by Friday. So her team plants confidential informants at 3 different levels, traces laundered money through legitimate-looking businesses that exist for no purpose but cleaning it, and renews a wiretap authorization 4 separate times over 3 years, each renewal requiring fresh proof the investigation still has value. You don't dismantle an organization one arrest at a time, she tells a new analyst. You learn to see it completely, and then you remove every piece on the same day, so nothing has time to reorganize around the gap. That day is a Thursday. 14 arrests, 2 states, 6 hours, 3 years of patience compressed into a single coordinated morning. You are one line in a structure she spent 3 years learning to see whole. 7. What the blockchain remembers. 46. A ransomware attack on a hospital network. Purely financial, you told yourself, no different from locking down a retailer's servers. Then the headlines mention a delayed surgery, a complicated transfer, and the distinction you never bothered to consider arrives anyway, secondhand, through coverage you can't avoid. This draws a specialized cyber unit, analysts with computer science backgrounds instead of badges and holsters instincts. An agent named Lisa Chun leads the technical trace, following cryptocurrency wallets through blockchain analysis tools that didn't meaningfully exist a decade ago. She doesn't need a confession. She needs the ledger, which remembers every transaction permanently and forgets nothing, no matter how many mixing services launder the payment on its way to you. Every transfer is a fingerprint that doesn't fade, she tells her team. It takes 4 months to trace the ransom through 6 wallets and 1 foreign exchange that eventually cooperates under diplomatic pressure. It's slow, mostly invisible work, spreadsheets of addresses, timestamps cross-checked against exchange logs. You're not caught by a mistake. You're caught by the simple, patient application of a tool built to outlast whatever anonymity you assumed was permanent. 8. The pattern underneath the pattern. 50. A string of incidents across 3 states that took years to be recognized as connected, because each one alone looked local, isolated, nothing to compare against anything else. A behavioral analyst named Dr. Amara Bell first notices the thread, a signature buried in crime scenes that local detectives, working in isolation, had no reason to line up side by side. Her report circulates quietly, then urgently, once a 4th incident confirms the first 3. A task force forms around a case agent named Gregory Halston, and the 2 of them spend months narrowing a search radius that starts as 3 states and ends as 1 county. Her behavioral profile, shaping where he deploys resources, his ground-level findings sharpening her profile in turn. People repeat themselves, Bell tells the assembled team. It's the most consistent thing about any of us. Evidence reprocessed with techniques that didn't exist at the time of the earliest incident eventually produces a match connecting all four scenes. The technology finally catching up to a case that had been waiting years for it to arrive. The arrest itself, when it comes, is almost anticlimactic. 2 agents, a quiet knock, a case years in the building concluding in under 30 seconds. 9. The speed of the slowest government. 54. An operation spanning 3 countries, moving money across borders faster than any single agency's jurisdiction can follow without help. A legal attaché named Robert Castellanos, stationed overseas, becomes the connective tissue between American investigators and law enforcement partners operating under entirely different legal systems. He spends over a year negotiating formal requests for mutual legal assistance, each one a diplomatic process requiring translation, legal review, and sign-off from officials in multiple governments before a single document can cross a border. Domestic cases move at the speed of a subpoena, he tells a colleague on a call spanning 3 time zones. International ones move at the speed of the slowest government's paperwork, and the only fix is relationships built years before you need them. He remembers an earlier case stalled 8 months by a missing signature from an official who, it turned out, was simply on leave nobody thought to ask about. That failure is why he now keeps redundant contacts everywhere. Those relations. 10. The machine that rehearsed for this. 58. A plot stopped before it finishes, and the response that follows dwarfs everything the previous 9 chapters prepared you to imagine. This isn't one agent, or one task force. A joint task force activates within hours, pulling together federal agents, local police, and intelligence analysts from agencies that don't normally share information this openly or this fast. A supervisory agent named Elena Marchetti coordinates a response drawing on resources most people don't know exist: financial intelligence, signals intelligence, human sources cultivated for years for exactly this kind of morning. Nothing here moves at a normal pace, she tells her team in the opening hours. What usually takes weeks of approval happens in minutes, because the cost of being slow is measured differently in this kind of work. Everything from the previous 9 chapters runs simultaneously now instead of in sequence: financial tracing, digital forensics, behavioral profiling, international liaison, all of it converging on you at once instead of building gradually over years. You're apprehended within days. The full weight of an apparatus that normally takes years to assemble, compressed into its most urgent possible form. 10 files, 10 different scales of the same underlying architecture. Dana Alvarez's 15-minute cross-reference and Elena Marchetti's hour-by-hour interagency scramble aren't different systems. They're the same system, sized to match whatever it's asked to find. It doesn't hunt the way a person hunts. It hunts the way a structure hunts, patiently, in parallel, assembling a picture one piece at a time, until the final step, the knock on the door, is almost anticlimactic next to everything that built toward it.